Hey everyone, and welcome back to Piercing Thoughts with me, Dro, your weekly podcast to do with League of Legends analytics. So it's been quarterfinals week this week, and it's been very good, and there's been some really good games. And I feel like it's separated the wheat from the chaff, where before there was a lot of uncertainty, but now it's clear in everyone's head about what's going to happen going forward and who the actual strong teams are and who were pretenders. So we'll be going through the quarterfinals first, game by game, doing picks and bans, and talking about the games as a whole. And then I will be talking about the semi-final matchups and my predictions. So, set one was between Samsung Galaxy and Cloud9. Samsung Galaxy banned Ryze Syndra every game and Kennen Nidalee. Little bit of a sidebar, Nidalee is banned exclusively 100% on red time unless SKT are playing Bengi on blue, because Bengi can't play that, so I don't think they're going to be picking Bengi anymore for this tournament, but we'll see. So Ryze Syndra, that's to counteract Jensen, who has a very small champion pool, as shown by this, since Orianna and Cassiopeia are the only two mid laners being picked. So it just shows that the mid lane champion pool for this, with Victor being banned, also was quite tight. And Kennen was also the other ban, and this is good because it allowed Samsung to use their heavy. Is it Cuvée? Cuvée has a huge champion pool, and he's really strong in the meta at the moment with the number of picks he's actually got available to him. Things like he can counter picks like Rumble easily with his Echo, and he can play Poppy well, and the Jace, which is coming out to be the strongest top lane pick, he can play really well. And banning the Kennen stops a lot of these, and then allowing it through on the next rotation means that they can then pick it up to counter the Jace, which is the pick. So really smart pick and ban. And Cloud9 just seemed all over the place. They banned the Victor, which is the right thing. Nidalee on red side, which is right, but I mean they kept banning it. They banned Tahm Kench, which Core JJ is very good on Tahm Kench, but it's not like oh my god, we must ban this champion. It's kind of, yeah, he's good in it, but what are you gonna do? Like I said before, moving into picks. Like I said before, the Cassiopeia Orianna switch, Cassiopeia always being on blue in second rotation, was a bit strange, but it's just to do with the Jensen's pull for his champions and what he's comfortable on. Cloud9 have a very small champion pool. And what else? So the Rek'Sai being picked was very odd. The Rek'Sai prioritization in the first two games, with Cloud9 really valuing that pick. I don't agree. I think that giving the Olaf away and then they banned the Olaf, which then just allowed Ambition to move to Skarner. They just match Rek'Sai in being able to farm at the moment, and if your lanes play safe, Rek'Sai has a really hard time ganking. I just think it's not, but it's still a great pick, but it's not like she was when the lane swap meta was going on. Like she doesn't make your team so much better. So yeah, I didn't agree with that, and it's not really pinching the pool that much. And it just seemed like Cloud9, every pick they made, they were countered and they were beaten handedly. So Samsung just outright won that game. And the big thing was to do with Cloud9's jungle play. Meteos just did not seem to be on the same level or the same note as everyone else on the team. I mean, you have a Zac Orianna, and you're looking for the big wombo plays with Karma in there and Jace, and just looking for the big kind of pile on, and none of it came to fruition. It was really poor, and we got to see Samsung's amazing way that they play League of Legends through team-based play, which was just too much for Cloud9. They either got ahead and stomped, or they drew out Cloud9's like evenness or lead and just won. And you saw that in groups against teams like TSM. They just are better at League of Legends. So yeah, it's very very good team, and we will see them against H2K, which will be interesting, but I'll talk about that later. So SKT versus RNG. RNG banned really heavily against the jungle in the series here, and it kind of worked in the first game where they got their win, because they're banging out Bengi, and Bengi only has, you know, well, they banned 2 champions, and forced them onto Lee Sin, and Lee Sin's like every Korean's like back default. So I mean, it's kind of, yeah, like they must have just said, all right, and they tried to carry this on for the next couple of games, taking the Olaf in game 2, and then couldn't really ban it in game 3. But I mean, yeah, it forced Blank when he came into the team to go on the Zac, and it just showed that like these target bans are just not working. Like if he can play Zac and win, then it's not working. But they didn't change it up, and that's part of the reason why I think they lost. They put too much emphasis on trying to ban out jungle when it's not really working. So I think that's one of the reasons why they lost. The Cake focus from SKT with the bans is very interesting, especially considering that they what's his name? I want to say Arrow, but that's Katie Rolster. Bang is such a good Ezreal. I mean, he can go up against Jhin and be fine. So I mean, they just want to get rid of the Caitlyn for Uzi. And that's smart, that's a good thing to do. I can see that working out other times as well. Ezreal's just such a safe AD carry. He just can farm and be a menace late game. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, not much to say about bans, apart from the Rise from RNG, which showed one another of their vulnerabilities, which is I don't think they can play Rise. Either that, or they're just absolutely terrified of Faker's Rise, which I mean you should be, but I mean, yeah. I'm just gonna take a drink of water. It's all live, folks. It's all live. But yeah, I mean, that was. I think there were other things you could ban, or even try and play against it instead of letting Syndra through. I think Syndra's just so much worse than Rise. I mean, you let Syndra through on game 3, and I think that was the one that just got absolutely stomped in, if I remember correctly. So I mean, yeah, just bad decisions in the bans. And the picks, I mean, they let some of their best champions through, like Syndra on Syndra for Faker, and they just seem to be SKT. Once they brought Blank in and shored up that jungle deficiency, there was nowhere RNG could really, you know, go for, and it all just fell apart. And that's just what showed in the games. It was very telling that SKT could skirmish as well as a Chinese team who are known for their skirmishing and like short fights and hectic fights, and that is something to be scared of, and something they've actually learned from Chinese teams, where it was one place where Chinese teams might have an edge, is where they, you know, so you're talking season 3 and stuff, where if they could just get those fights, they might be able to win, you know, a good number of games. But now, especially with the Rocks, who are very good at that as well, yeah, it's looking like the gap is widening even further, not so much closing. So we'll move on to the next set of games. We have Rocks Tigers versus EDG, of course. So Rocks ban Rek'Sai a lot, and what this means is that Lee Sin is very, very open for It's because Rek'Sai is a, I won't say pseudo counter, but she does very well into Lee Sin. He can't duel her early, and he can't apply as much pressure as he wants because she can scout him very easily. So banning that away, and just knowing how good is it Clear Love? Yeah, Clear Love is on the Rek'Sai is it's a good ban. Poppy to take away from EDG's failing top laner because he got drafted in because the normal top laner had to go home for it, some reason. So yeah, and Syndra was usually the other ban with Nidalee coming in for the Poppy. So yeah, good bans. They just found all the weak points in EDG and exploited them. Edward Gaming banning the Elise, the Nidalee on red, and usually the Jace. After game 1, getting completely obliterated by it. Yeah, they just. I think if you take away the Elise, you also need to be taking away the Lee Sin, especially on blue side. If you can pinch if you can get rid of Elise, get rid of Lee Sin, and ban say Jace, and then take the Olaf in the first rotation. Or something like that. Like you take away the 2 picks, like or you take away the Lee Sin and ban the Olaf as well, and you basically say, what are you gonna play? You have to look, because I think there's only I'd say there's only really like 3-4 good junglers at the moment, and it's about knowing when to put this jungle pressure on the picks and bans. And it felt like EDG kind of half did it. They just got rid of a pick. They didn't really say, no, we're focusing on getting rid of this one big thing. And that's it's not like a Kennen ban, where a Kennen ban is so good, or a Kennen first pick, because not only does it match the Jace, usually if you can play it well enough, the matchup, it also beats other matchups like Rumble and Gnar. It is very good into those matchups. But I mean, so they didn't really ban well enough, and their picks, I mean, they were focused around getting Koro 1 something comfortable, which usually was the Rumble, and didn't really work out. Worked out in one game, but that was more to do with Aurelion Sol and Rox playing Fiora, which don't play Fiora at the moment. She gonna get curb stomped. Not in the greatest shape competitively. Still great in solo queue. Still a completely stupid broken champion in solo queue, but in competitive, and it's just showing how good Aurelion Sol is if you can play her and get the right team comp. And so yeah, but what else? Not so much after game 1. Not so much just trading Caitlyn, Jhin, which I'd prefer to see that. I would prefer bans to go elsewhere. Bot lane is pretty much just farm fest at the moment anyway. There's no real kill threat, and the game's gotten too good. People have gotten too good at the game to go, oh my god, 5 kills in bot lane. There's none of that. People just farm. Unless there's something big happening, like a big jungle dive, or some big TP plays. There's not going to be 2v2 kills usually. So I think if you're just playing to farm and looking for the team fights and such, and we've seen, bringing this back to a bigger context, that's why you're seeing things like Zyra and Karma be the 2 picks for support, because they just provide so much in lane, and to be safe and to provide zone and stuff, and then you've got the possibilities of the later game team fights and stuff where they just shine through their utility. And that's I think a problem with Zyra at the moment is she does so much damage while also providing so much utility. And I know she's squishy, but this isn't Silver 3 that we're talking about. This is Pro Play at Worlds top 4 sort of thing. So yeah, I think she needs to be looked at maybe. But yeah, and then bringing it back to the games, Rox just they just look good. Aurelion Sol is a big crutch for them, I feel. I feel like you could actually, on blue side, go after them with mid lane bans, probably. Ban out the Aurelion Sol, ban out the Malzahar, and then, you know, I can't remember his name, but he only has like 3 or 4 champions he properly plays, like ban, you know, Rise, you know, and then maybe force him onto a Victor, but you're basically telling him to go, well, he likes wave clearing, but I mean, you're basically like forcing him onto these like really like, you know, B tier picks that he has, and not allowing him to play the Aurelion Sol, which is the big one. And then if we talk about EDG, I think I've already done it, but I'm just going to do it again. Yeah, they were just so focused into that top lane through Koro 1. So let's leave that. The games, Peanut is so good as a jungler. I mean, if you want to go learn how to aggress early, go watch Peanut's games. He is just... I'm actually going to go back and watch them to improve my jungling. I mean, they're just absolutely amazing for what he does. He just has this knack of just knowing where to be and how to be there, and it's very telling. It's also, he's on his signature Lee Sin, so I mean, they really need to either ban it or, you know, have a counter for it. I think Olaf's a good counter. I think also something like the farm-based jungler Skarner might do quite well into it, but maybe not so well. You just need to farm up, and you just need to have lanes that win or go even into Lee Sin, and just wait for him to, like, don't let him snowball the game, basically. I know that's hard against Peanuts Lee Sin, but I mean, Lee Sin just really took these games and just absolutely humped them into submission in the early game for 3 of the all the wins. Peanut just absolutely, well, the Lee Sin in the 2 games, and then like the 4th game, just I think he got lucky with a triple kill in bot lane. Like, he got lucky that he got that amount of gold, but then what he did with the gold was really impressive. So he's one to watch out for in the semis. It also seems like Rocks have a really great understanding of the current meta and how to play the game at the moment, with a lot of focus on winning lanes and winning lane in the mid lane. I'd say like winning side lanes at least, and just allowing mid to roam and farm with Syndra, Aurelion Sol. Who else could be in that? Possibly even have Karma, but like Victor and things like that. You just want like, wave's gone, I'm off. I wouldn't be surprised actually if you saw Lux come back. I think that could be a very interesting pick, because of her roam potential. But she is very immobile, but like, I could see it. I mean, if Victor's being played, Lux has to be in the argument, in my opinion. I think she's very strong. Because she can just clear waves and walk off, and just like clear waves, E, Q, auto a few creeps, walk to bot lane. They're like threatened with vision. So that's interesting. So yeah. Also, I want to talk about Clearlove, the EDG jungler. He did look terrible. His jungle pool seems really small. When he was forced off the Olaf and the Rek'Sai, he was down to Hecarim, and Hecarim is just not good at the moment. Yes, he farms, but he needs too much gold to be impactful. Like, you're talking Olaf, who farms a lot, but he gets Cinderhulk and it's tanky, and that's it, kind of thing. His ganks are great. He's got Ghost. Ghost is the important thing here with Olaf as well. Ghost is very strong. But I mean, Hecarim just doesn't really do anything, and if he doesn't get ahead, he's terrible. And he just looked off the point, Clearlove, and it's a shame because he was very hyped up by other analysts like Kelsey Moser and by the LOL Esports and their propaganda machine. And yeah, it's very interesting. I have no idea what happened. I'm sure he'll go back to China and start doing well again, but yeah. And the fourth set of games was H2K versus Albus Nox Luna, and I don't really have much to say here. I'm really glad H2K are now actually looking great. It's been about a year in the making, and I'm really glad as an EU, I don't know, EU player, I don't know, but EU analyst, and someone who's got great admiration for the players that they've got, like Jankos and Vander and Forgiven, and and Odoamne I really respect as a player. I think he does great things, and people will also overlook him quite a lot until recently. Yeah, it was just kind of I think Albus Nox didn't have much time to practice due to, I think, the people being ill and their comps. They had like one comp and it didn't really play it well. And it was just basically like H2K walked up and did a job. And I think Albus Nox, if maybe they had more time to repair, we would have had a better game. But I think what they showed in this tournament was amazing. And they can walk away with their head proud. They got top 8 in the world when people just expected 06. I think big pat on the back. Well done, boys. Go home with your heads held high. I think looking forward, H2K need to shore up their late game and their decision making, but I mean, they look good. Prolly has a very good grasp of pick and ban for the current meta, and they know what to play and they can play it. And I think it's actually, they're going to just pip Samsung. I think that's going to be my prediction for the semis. I'm just going to say it now. I think they're going to pip them. I think it'll be so close. Although saying that, it'll probably be like 3-0 or something, and we'll all go home in tears. But I mean, I can see a world. I don't think it's far-fetched to say someone saying H2K can win versus Samsung. I don't think that's a far-fetched thing to say. And maybe it's just EU pride blinding me, but I think they look good. And I think their positives, I think like Samsung and them have different positives. And I think if H2K play to their positives, they can beat Samsung before Samsung get to their positives. So it should be an interesting match. So transitioning that, we've got the finals, semi-finals. Sorry about that. The semi-finals, which are H2K versus Samsung, like I've just said. I think that'll be a very interesting matchup. Versus Rox and SKT on Friday, I think that is. Or is that the other one Friday? It doesn't matter. But Rox versus SKT, I mean, I've got Rox down to win in my pick'ems. I'm going to stand by that. I think SKT have more vulnerabilities at the moment, but again with the H2K, I could see a world where SKT win. They're a very good team, never count them out, and they've got the best player in the world. So it's I can see a world where they win, and it's a very interesting matchup because you feel that I personally feel like Rox don't have a bad bot lane, but they've got the lesser of the two bot lanes. So you're saying like SKT win the bot, they win in the mid, but jungle and top, I think they've got advantages in. Like Duke, great top laner, but he's not a role bit. He does his job, but he's not like, well, he hasn't this season. He hasn't been like, oh my god, Duke, like winning all the games. I mean, you said that about Smeb. So I just feel like Rox is going to win that, but I think it'll be like 3-1, 3-2, very close. It'll be a great thing to watch, and I can't wait to watch it. And then H2K versus Samsung, like I've said before, H2K play to their strengths, they'll win, but Samsung can easily win it as well. I think both of them are actually really good matchups, and I think like the semi-final is more of a final, the Rox versus SKT, but we will see. I mean, anything can happen. As a famous football commentator once said, it's a game of two halves. And that means absolutely nothing in this context, so I will end it there. Thank you very much for listening, guys, for listening. And I hope you have a great week. I'm hoping to do more content in the week, but I've been a bit ill, so I will try and do some. But in the meantime, I will see you guys next week. Thank you for listening.